I, a 32-year-old woman, began working from home 2 months ago. My husband bought the house we live in before we got together. He calls it his property, which is fine with me. The house is small and has only 2 rooms, one of which used to be empty until I started using it as an office for my work-from-home job. All was going fine with my job until he sat me down last night, saying he's expecting 30 profit from whatever I earn from my job since he provides the office for my work. I was completely caught off guard by this. I asked if he was serious, and he went on about it being his home and how he could use this room for his purpose since it's his property. I said no and called him unreasonable, which led to an argument. I yelled at him, saying he won't get a penny, and he got upset and accused me of taking full advantage, even though there was no mortgage to be paid. I do all the chores in the house, as well as share paying the bills in half. He got his family involved in this, and they're divided. His mom thinks I'm being difficult, and that 30 is not a huge amount, and that his room is providing stability for my work-from-home job, so my husband should get some benefits. Am I the idiot for putting my foot down and refusing to pay a penny? Not the idiot. Your husband is being unreasonable and is clearly signaling to you that the house you live in is not your home. That's not a situation I'd want to be in personally. Does he charge you rent for the use of the bathroom and the shower? Do you charge him for intimacy? Start negotiating. Next up, you don't owe CB a thing, especially since you do all the household chores. Time to immediately stop paying bills and doing all the housework. Move into your office. If he wants to treat you like a tenant, act like one. Do not combine your money with his. Pay him the going rate of a tenancy. Start looking for a new place to live because this marriage is over. It's just a financial agreement to him. Keep doing the chores and bill him the same amount he would charge you for the office. But seriously, he will always hold that he owns the home over your head. You'd be better off moving into a tiny cheap bedside or a house share and saving for your own place than paying him 50 of the bills and then an extra 30 of your wages. That he's discussing stuff with his mom isn't good either. A third of your wages is a huge amount. All the housework too. Oh honey! Yep, he's a transactional nightmare. And it's not your home. He can kick you out tonight and you've got nothing. He's using you and you do all the housework. Oh, please make sure not to have a child with him. I can't imagine how much worse it'll get sometimes. Sometimes I wonder why some people get married. It breaks my heart every time a woman posts about the outlandish way her husband is trying to profit from her. And it's so obvious she has no support system to rely on. The more meshed you get with this guy, the harder it'll be to leave. Take this as the pace car now and just leave him. This isn't how loving relationships are supposed to be. Oh my god, girl, just go. Divorce him and take half the house. See if he thinks that's fair. For some background, my 25-year-old mother is not good at teaching others. My mother gave me a very bad learning experience, whether it was schoolwork, driving, or cooking. She got unnecessarily angry when I made a mistake and would call me stupid whenever I asked a question. I got good on my own with schoolwork, and my dad taught me how to drive. On the other hand, with cooking, I only had my mom to teach me. This caused me to be very nervous in the kitchen, and I could only cook basic foods. She did admit she had a problem later on, but part of me still resents her because that didn't really erase all the times I had to sit there and hold back tears as she berated me. When I was about 20, I started dating this guy who loved to cook. It was through him that I learned to cook. Since he was Japanese, most of the food I learned to cook was Japanese food, and I was completely fine with that. Recently, my mom had an accident that led to her breaking her arm, so I moved back home for a bit to help her around the house. One of the things I do is cook, and I've been making a lot of Japanese food because that's what I'm most comfortable with. One day while eating, my mother said she was tired of Japanese and wanted to know why I always cooked it while I was there. I told her since my fiancé taught me everything I know about cooking. Japanese food is what I'm used to. She gave me a hurt look and said, I know I wasn't the best, but I still did a lot to help you learn. I said yes. I know, but I wouldn't be able to cook a full meal if it wasn't for him. My mom got up from the table and went to her room. My dad said that that was a bit cruel and I needed to apologize. I don't think I need to, because I was only telling the truth. Well, she did teach me the basics because of her. I was very anxious in the kitchen and couldn't do much. My fiancé said I wasn't completely in the wrong, but I should apologize to keep the peace. I need some other opinions on if I was wrong. Edit. Since my job is primarily working from home, I'm free to help out. Not the idiot, but mostly. Recently, my mom had an accident that led to her breaking her arm, so I moved back home for a bit to help around the house. Not gonna lie, this is ridiculous. One broken arm isn't anything, and your dad's there for goodness sake? And Ope's dad dares to criticize when he's right there. If they don't want Japanese food, that's Japanese food, then your dad can cook. I assume his arm isn't broken. The moving back is a massive overreaction to mom's broken arm. Should just make food and drop it off at their house. I don't think these parents are worth anything, considering her mom's outright abusive behavior and her dad's enabling that behavior. Why are your mom's feelings hurt? Next loss of pride or a crushed ego? Honey, leave. You're not a slave. Your parents are asking for a lot of emotional coddling on top of the help you kindly give them. You have a job. Working from home doesn't mean you're free to help 24/7. She's hurt because she didn't teach you enough to cook. Well, it's not your job to pretend she did something she didn't to make her feel better. I and my 22-year-old female brother, nearly an adult, wasn't a fair baby. What ended up happening was the following. My dad remarried another woman and gained a stepdaughter, nearly an adult who he treats like his own. My mother remarried another man and had my half-sisters, a teen and a young teen. My brother's father's not in his life. As a kid, I spent equal time with both parents, but my brother was always with my mom. From what I know, my brother doesn't call anyone dad. This is something that really affects him. He always wanted a dad in one of those happy little families. And I recently found his letters to Santa from when he was younger, and I'm absolutely heartbroken. It's something I now feel very strongly about, because my mom works a lot. No one ever shows up to my brother's games. He doesn't really care. Or at least he acts like he doesn't. Well, my boyfriend and I decided to go to every one of his games, and have been going to every game since last year. He always gets really happy. He even jokingly calls us his parents as we sit with all the other parents. This is something I only do for him. My brother had his final volleyball game near the end of the month, and like always, I was going. However, as I was about to leave, my mom said she needed to talk, and minutes later, my dad showed up. They usually cannot stand each other, so I thought it was something serious. They just told me it's nice that I go to all my brother's games, but my sisters on both sides feel left out, and I should try to go to their things too. My nearly adult sister had a dance rehearsal event on the same day, and they told me they wanted me to go to that instead to prove that I was not playing favorites. They also said that they wanted my boyfriend to go as well. I said no. They kept begging though, and my mom told me that my other sisters had something coming up as well. Unless it's a major game or recital, I won't attend. I'm already very busy and only do this for my brother, because unlike my sisters, he has no one. My parents said that that was unfair to the girls because they deserve to have an older sister. They both also agree that it's weird my boyfriend, and I act like his parents. I just told them that sucks, but I have a game to get to. I haven't been allowed in either house since that day, and until I promised to commit to the girls as well. But I keep refusing. My mom's called me mean, selfish, etc. And my dad keeps saying that he never expected this from me. Am I the idiot for refusing to do the same for my sisters? I just want my brother to have one thing. He never gets anything. But maybe I'm the idiot for doing this at the expense of my sisters. It's my mom who cheated, actually. A few years ago, my brother unconsciously started calling my stepdad dad. But he was all like, this is weird. I don't want another man's child calling me dad. So my mom made him stop. It made me see them in a very different light when I found out about this. They weren't even ashamed. They simply do not care. Takes actually help. I was helping her clean out the basement, and there were 3 boxes of my brother's childhood stuff, and half of it was just drawings of me, my brother, our mom, and what seemed to be his dad. When I showed them to my mom, she was more upset that he didn't draw out our sisters or his stepdad. We also found the letters to Santa there, and I started crying reading them. And all my mom did was crack a joke about his handwriting. Like, what the heck? My brother's living with my boyfriend and me. He already has a room and stays with us during the weekends and breaks. Just reply, it's not fair that mom slept with a random guy and now we have to parent my half-brother. You're an amazing big sister. Furthermore, it sounds like there isn't even bad blood between you and your sisters. Looks like clearly he needs this more than they ever could. How awful of them to say it's weird for you and your boyfriend to act like his parents. Maybe if his birth mother acted like a parent to him, you wouldn't have to. Instead, mom is borderline neglecting him. You are the best sister he could ask for. You and boyfriend are awesome for taking your brother in. I'm glad someone is in his corner. Though your mom is horrible? Sorry, not sorry. This makes me so relieved. And honestly, this alone makes it completely normal to attend all of his events, and not the other siblings. They have their lives while you guys have your own. Oh, don't just wow. Your mother and stepdad are huge idiots. Your mom holds her mistakes against your brother. Honestly, it doesn't sound like she loves him. I wonder how she'd respond if she was asked if she did. This woman has made your brother the scapegoat for her selfish actions. I can't with people like this. When you can, please get your brother into counseling. This is messing him up more than he's letting on. My wife and I recently had to move in with my mom, along with our young toddler son. My mom has made it very clear that we're ruining her life, and she hates having us here. I know in many families, adult children moving in is normal, but in this situation, she's clearly doing us a favor and is angry about it. I've been having a hard time setting boundaries with my mom, because her answer is if we don't like it, we can leave. And to be honest, that sounds fair. Don't get me wrong. I still say something when she's rude to my wife, but as for real boundaries and consequences, I just don't have any leverage. My wife has been on me lately about how I need to do more to set boundaries. One thing my mom does that my wife hates is using the word witch in place of you in a sentence. And previously, I set a boundary that if my mom called either of us a witch, we would leave and not visit for X amount of time. But now that we live here, she laughs and tells me to please go. So my hands quite literally are tied. Well, tonight my mom came down to go to a work Christmas party, and my mother-in-law who was visiting commented about how our outfit would get her fired. My mom said, which I'm the boss, no one can fire me. My wife gave me a look, but I just shrugged because I felt mother-in-law was rude. My wife spoke up and said that I was a coward and that she was going to remind my mom of our boundary. And we were sick of how she used that word. My mom then looked at my wife and said, "Okay, I'll say something worse next time, damn witch." I was in shock and yelled at her to shut the heck up and told her I hated her. She left for her party. And I thought it was over, but my wife and mother-in-law both began telling me how I need to set consequences for my mom and how it shouldn't be so easy for her to insult my wife. I responded that we lost our right to set boundaries when we moved into her house. I don't like it either, but she owns our lives, and I'm not going to make a fool of myself and come off as some choosy beggar. I said, for now she really can say what she wants. Mother-in-law muttered something under her breath, and my wife began to scream at me. My wife is currently not speaking to me and says I can't come into our room tonight. She called me weak and told me to crawl in bed with my mom, which honestly hurt because my mom has multiple locks on her door as she doesn't trust us. So am I the idiot for telling my wife I can't enforce boundaries with my mom? I'm not the idiot. At least you realize you're two broke adults with a child living with your mother, and your mother has made it abundantly clear. But if you don't like it with a child living with your mother, and your mother has made it abundantly clear. If you don't like it, move out. If your wife wants boundaries, she needs to move out. And your wife can't tell anyone where they can go in a home she's squatting in because she's a broke adult with a child living with her mother-in-law. So let that sink in. You're two broke adults without many options. Your wife needs to understand she doesn't have squat or a window to throw it out of. She does not have the upper hand or moral high ground. This is a great summation of the situation. Mother-in-law doesn't want you there, but she didn't throw you out in the street. So shut up and be grateful you have a roof over your head. And adult up and get your act together so you can take care of yourselves in your own home. Then you get to set boundaries. Until then, suck it up if you want to continue to have a roof over your head. This exactly. Just what boundaries does your wife want to be enforced? Next, like what consequences is she going to make her mother-in-law face in her own home? Ask her what specifically she'd like, and how exactly does she think that can get your mom to agree to what she wants. My grandmother used to say, when your hand is in a lion's mouth, you draw it out carefully. Your mom doesn't want you living there, and your mother-in-law's husband said he'd divorce her if you moved in with them. What's wrong with you and your wife that no one wants you living with them? Everyone's the idiot here. I don't know how you ended up so broke that living with the most obnoxious toxic witch I've ever heard of in a long time is your only alternative. Go find a family homeless shelter, a church outreach. Literally nearly anything would be better than staying in this hellhole you brought your family to. Even between all of you, I honestly fear for your child because I don't see how any baby can grow up sane in this collection. I, 23, just completed my degree this year. My grandparents paid for my education the same as they did for all their grandchildren and children, except my cousin. She's 10 years older than me, and my grandparents cut off her funding after she came out as BF. She managed to complete her degree by taking out loans, but she still had to pay for 3 university years on her own. I saw how much it sucked to her to miss out on stuff because of her student debt. I knew when I was 13 that I was gay. I also knew what would happen to me with my family the minute I came out, so I didn't. I concentrated on school. I kept to myself. I'm an introvert, so it was relatively simple. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't celibate during university, but I also didn't advertise my orientation. Friends of my family and one of my cousins was attending the same school at the same time. My family did recently find out that I'm gay. I was outed to them by someone I trusted, but it's too late for them to screw me over. I have my diploma and I live in a different city, but strangely enough, I end up getting crap from both sides. My family all think I'm an idiot for lying to my grandparents to steal an education, and some of my friends think I was wrong to not be out and allow them to think I was as homophobic as they were. My lesbian cousin is the only person from my family who thinks I did the right thing. She says if she had it to do over, she would lie to those decrepit homophobes. Her words, not mine. My grandparents won't talk to me. My dad sent me an email saying that since I lied, I should pay them back the money. That's not gonna happen. I feel bad for lying, but I feel great about my start in life. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. What did you lie about? Who discusses their intimate life with grandma? Keeping your intimate life private is not lying. I wouldn't pay them back either. You didn't steal your diploma. You studied hard and you graduated. You might not get an inheritance, but you were fortunate enough to graduate without debt. And OPRSUEs and OPOP angry that they lost out on an opportunity to weaponize their money. So now they have nothing to use against you, nothing to withhold or to punish you with, and nothing to force you to be the way they want you to be. So now they're stewing about it. Familial love shouldn't be conditional like this.